Hello everybody and welcome back to our channel. Today we'll be reviewing the AluX kitchen system. It's such a showcase of the conjunction between high-end Italian craftsmanship with technology. In this case it's furniture aluminium technology. Let's dive into all its technical details. So let's start from the name of this collection, which is called AluX. In Latin numbers, X meant 10. And why is this? Because we have 10 millimeters door. And how can we build a door this thin with such a big surface and total reliability? Because these doors are made of aluminium honeycomb, so they are completely aluminium inside. They are hollow inside. They are built like a sandwich with the hollow honeycomb structure in the middle and then two panels covering the honeycomb structure, and this allows to create such thin doors with such a high degree of resistance and durability. As we said in other videos, this is only one of the, let's say, infinite compositions that we can create with the AluX collection. This very composition is 578 by 305 on this right side. It's 246 centimeters high, but of course it's completely custom made. While the island here in the middle is 353 by 95 centimeters deep. We'll now review every piece of this composition, and we start here at the extreme left with this boiserie panel with these 1 centimeters thick shelves which are attached onto the panel. Here we see we start by having a look at the walnut finish, and of course we have all sorts of customization in terms of materials as well. This is real veneer, real walnut, and we see how beautiful it is in how its veneer is varied. Of course it's a matter of taste. Oak has such a high degree of customization in terms of colors with which you can shade it, but walnut has its own personality. Then we move on to these big columns. These are actually 90 centimeters each, with the 3 centimeters grip in the middle, and these are so unique both in terms of look, because we see the doors, the two doors, one left and one right, which encircle the two ovens, okay? And not only in terms of look they are unique, but also in terms of use, because you see you have these huge storage capabilities, and because we have 90 centimeters wide columns, but we also have these niches on the side which can be used for smaller stuff. Beautiful LED lighting on the back of the columns. And well, you know, you must consider when you design such, when you place such a column in your project, that these doors, as much as they are beautiful, of course they take up much space when you open them, so you might not find them ideal in smaller spaces, but they indeed create a stunning look, and they're also very practical, because I can tell you that even if it's very big, it's so light to move thanks to the honeycomb structure of the doors. Just a tiny detail as to the LED lighting. LED lighting is activated by the sensor, which is this little box here, which of course is very practical because you don't want to control inner lighting through a switch, but you simply need it when you open the door. Here we get to talk about the finishes as well. We have already described walnut, natural Canaletto walnut, but we can also describe brunito metal, which is one of the metal finishes which we can have on this sort of doors. It has a matte metallized effect. Most often you find metallized effects on glossy lacquers. In this case you have a mix between matte and metallized effect, which is indeed nice to look at, and I would say, well, of course it's very trivial what I'm about to say, well, it's less shiny than a glossy door, and this with a kitchen which has such a strong personality, you might not want to go over the edge with very strong finishes, and I think this is a mix that works very well. So we get to see base elements and hanging cabinets. Here we see a big drawer with the inner drawer. We have LED lighting, which works the same as we just described. Well, you know, here we get the chance to see a door in detail. As much as it's a technical excellence, well, it's also a matter of taste, because there are those clients who do really appreciate thicker doors. I remember a model which we had in our collection years ago, which was something like a 32 millimeters door, and its special feature was these very thick doors. In this case, it's the total opposite. So you cannot build such a thin door on a cheaper collection. It's so technically advanced. But there are those clients who might not appreciate this very thin look, and so it all goes down to taste, and I can say also down to budget in this regard. So we have this base which we described, we have a standard upper cabinet here, not much to say about this. Well, we can discuss how it was the top, the kitchen top and the backsplash were built. This is Black Fenix, okay, it's just 10 millimeters to recall the thickness of the doors. So we have the top, the lower part of the backsplash. So we did, instead of a single piece, we divided into the more practical Black Fenix, the lower part, and we recalled the Canaletto Walnut in the upper part. Here we see the LED lighting which goes all around the kitchen composition. Okay, the hanging cabinets have a grip, just like the lower ones, they're just built differently. And we get here to the sink base, okay? It's a 120 centimeters sink base. And here we also have a chance to have a look at the curved grip, which characterizes our other key models of our collection, okay? But it's also used on the AluX kitchen. Of course, this also is customizable with all sorts of colors, also RAL colors. Okay. Here we have a single sink which shows a black smeg. Of course, this is all completely customizable. Just like with electrical appliances, you can install any sort of model, of brand, material, so not much to say here. Here we have, well, with these special hinges, it's quite normal. Well, you know, these hanging cabinets with rails for plates and cups and glasses and so on is more used in Italy than abroad. Also, it's a matter of taste and how you're used. On these sort of cabinets for to stock all the plates and glasses and so on, cups, these 160 degrees hinges are normally used, because the point would be that you open them completely. Okay, I'm here, then I open the dishwasher. Okay. And when I'm working like this, I don't have this door which creates an hindrance to me when loading. And while I open it like this, and it's more convenient to do all my stuff, and I could place here, I could place here wet items which can get dry when placed here, or normally I can work with the sink, or I could work from the dishwasher. This is a standard hanging cabinet. Here I get well, we already described the walnuts. It's also a technical feat, the fact that we have veneered walnut onto the honeycomb aluminium door. So also this also is quite peculiar. We move on to the corner elements. Okay, we have two. We have the hanging corner element with these two doors. Here we use the same hinges and as the cabinet above the sink. This is the most used approach to corner hanging elements. Decades ago, there was a different type with an angled door here, but in terms of styling, that's kind of old school. So this is the type of corner hanging cabinet that you see mostly used today. Okay, I need to open first this door in order to open the second. This is absolutely normal. Then, well, this is a standard cabinet, but we can see the double length, and even though we have these beautiful thick shelves, they are 2 centimeters thick, with these aluminium bars, there's an additional support here for heavy weight capacity. Okay, and as to the corner element down below, here we see, well, a standard door. This is 125 by 60, and we see these accessories with all the sliding drawers and trays. The point of this accessory is this. Well, normally in corner units you get to position those items that you need in the kitchen that you don't use often. Depending on your budget, depending on your taste, on your expectations, you might want to invest on such of these automated trays, which allows you to actually use what you place in the corner element more often. Otherwise, you would have a shelf, and of course, down there you get to place what you use once a year, twice a year. Let's say that you have a Sunday when rain is forcing you to stay inside, and you say, okay, let's do our own bread, and you take your bread machine, which you use very rarely. You get to place it down there. So very simple use, and also very reliable mechanism. Well, this is a standard door with inner drawers, okay. Of course, we could have drawers which could be accessed directly, as we will see in the island, but in terms of keeping the looks of the kitchen straight and clean, we have a door and the inner drawer. Of course, this approach forces me as a user to do a double movement to operate the piece, but of course it's cleaner in looks. It's always a balance between cleanliness and practical use, clean design and practical use. Here we get to the columns with the pantry, a beautiful pantry here, LED lighting as we already seen before, and all these inner drawers. This is very practical, I must say. Well, you know, when we're talking about this base, I like clean designs, but I must admit that as a user, I would tend to prefer a drawer, so a big drawer below and standard drawers above, directly accessible. When I'm considering a column like this, I really love the fact that when I open the door, I have all this sort of access, and I find these drawers very practical. Also, if I were to place them outside the door, I would have a kind of dirty design in the sense that I would have many grips, many handles, while in this approach is very clean, and with a glance I can see all that I need. I can get my Irish breakfast tea bags and whatever I need. Here we get to the last element of our composition, which is a fridge, and we have the chance to comment about the fact that we placed handles on these two columns. Of course, we could have used the same approach as we have seen before, or of having a grip in the middle of the two columns. Here in the showroom, we had this dimension, which we were to comply with, and we didn't have the space to place a grip, in the middle here. And so we placed handles here. Well, this sort of handles is very practical. I think it fits well with the overall design. And this is the sort of situation which you could encounter also in your home. Of course, in a kitchen of these, let's say, segment, these high-end segments, you would have a double fridge, you would have an American style freestanding fridge, whatever. Here in the showroom, we placed a single fridge with the refrigerator below and the fridge above. It's a very high-end mega appliance, but of course you can customize all these based on your needs. You might have a separate fridge elsewhere in your house. We see this additional space above as additional storage, and here we are at the end of our composition. Here we get to the island, and let's start from its dimension. It's 353 by 95, it's 92 centimeters high, and we start talking about these storage elements on the outer side of the island. And here we have these push-pull doors, so no grip, no handle, for a very clean design. Here we see that we have a reduced depth because on the other side we have the hob with its drawers. And here we see a nice detail. This is 8 centimeters high feet and plinth down below, and we can actually choose. Normally you would have a door which would be like 8 centimeters from the floor, or 12, 15, depending on the height of the feet. But here we decided to lower the door down to 1 centimeter from the floor. And this allows for a very clean design, because you see, you don't perceive the plinth behind it. And the plinth there's nothing bad in a plinth, but it kind of conveys the message, oh, okay, this is a kitchen. While with these very low doors towards the ground, it conveys you the message of a very customized solution, which is more targeted to living room areas. It could look more like a custom closet. So this is just a detail, but you know that devil is in the details, and this is a very important detail. So a bit of storage. Here we move on to the table unit. This concept, I do like it in the sense that, you know, islands are very popular right now in terms of kitchen designs. You might have an island where you have the consumption surface at the height of the working surface. In that situation, you need to use a stool. And of course, we have beautiful stools, but a good stool is not as comfortable as a good chair. And this is why I like this situation where I have an island, but I can enjoy the comfort of traditional chairs with a 45 centimeters height. Here we have room for 4 people easily. Actually, we have these beautiful high-end chairs which are actually quite bulky in a good way, and we can see that 4 people can do have good space. It's clear that who is sitting here and here will have more room for their legs than who is sitting here. So this sort of situation is not ideal, not for having room for your legs, but also in terms of consumption, it's not ideal. This must be said. But you know, when I'm sitting also here, but especially here, I have all the comfort of a standard table. All this piece is completely covered in Black Fenix, but you know, there's a difference. I don't know if you perceive it in the video, but this is as called, well, stratified, covered by stratified laminates, covered by Fenix, very reliable, but it's actually a full panel, while this is built with the same honeycomb structure, aluminium honeycomb structure, which I described before, and this is what allows perfect stability. If you look underneath, there's not a supporting bar, so you have 1 centimeter panel, which is completely stable, and actually then curves with this perfect curve that we see here and goes towards the floor. It's a single piece, all in aluminium honeycomb structure, covered with Black Fenix. It's astounding. It's something quite unique, we must say. And we're not boasting, but I can tell you that the prototyping of this solution was quite a long process, and a few artisans that would make it they refused to make it, and then we kept looking and we found a good artisan which allows us to offer you this sort of craftsmanship. So we said that the devil is in the detail. Here is another detail. We see this single piece, and we have the same curve down below that we have here. And this is what I love of high-end Italian-made kitchens. And we move on to the rest of the island. Okay, here we see the panel that goes onto the floor, so that I don't see a side plinth. And here we have drawers units. These are 120 and 120. Well, a beautiful drawer with all its wooden accessories. Here we see a grip, actually. Same drawer with stainless steel accessories, and well, this is for all your tools for the kitchen. Then we move on to this base with the hob. We have these brick drawers with different sort of accessories, and these for all your spices. It could be pepperoncino from the south of Italy, or it could be for an Indian tandoori kitchen, whatever, you have your own ways. Here we have a drawer. Bear in mind that this drawer that goes below the induction hob does not have much capacity. This needs to be known. Here the hob is actually covered by the grip, but this is very thin, and so you could have cutlery inside or some sort of blankets. You could have a cutter tray, things like this. Okay. A detail about hoods. Well, you know, here in the showroom, we kind of forgot to place the hood. No, we didn't forget it, but we decided not to place a hood. In a situation like this, you could have a hood built in the hob. You could have a hood coming out from this base here. Of course, this would force you not to have the storage on the side here. You could have a hood attached on the ceiling, or you could have a hood built into the ceiling. So you have multiple options. In this review here, you don't see a hood. We haven't forgotten it. It's just that we decided that we didn't need to showcase it. So we've come to the end of today's product review. I hope that you can share and feel the same enthusiasm that I felt in describing such details. And you know, it's a matter of passion. It could be the same passion that a client puts into his research to purchase a new kitchen of this sort of segment. It's the same passion that we feel when we design this sort of composition and this sort of excellency products. So I hope that you like it, and see you next time. Bye bye.